I am Shelley Frody from City to Shore Real Estate coming to you live this morning. I have my guest here, Emily DeYoung.
Morning.
And we're going to be talking about architecture and design and a lot of fun stuff. But first, I'm going to tell you or talk to you about some of the things that we have coming up here with City to Shore. We have a Discovery Day that is going to be on May 29th up in the Traverse City area. We would love to have you come up and join us. If you live anywhere north of Cadillac or up in the UP, it'd be a great chance for you to come and see what we have going on. We're going to be at the Great Wolf Lodge on May 29th in the morning. So when I repost this video, I'll be putting a link in where you can get to that as well. So Emily, we are going to be talking about some design and architecture and fun stuff today. So Emily and I have been working together on a project, and
it's been really fun so far.
Yeah. And I thought it'd be really fun to have you on and talk about what you do, and so other people might be able to find you and do the same things. So
I'm so excited to be here this morning.
Yeah.
So a little early for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and you drove here from
Kalamazoo
area. So yeah, you had a really start.
I work all over West Michigan though, because you know the lake shore, there's tons of houses popping up all the time, and I work with a lot of really cool contractors who cover the whole west side of the state. So I kind of I work from home, and then sometimes I travel and visit the site and make sure it's going how it's supposed to.
Good. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what you do. So you mentioned, working with contractors and stuff, but that really starts way before the contractors are involved.
So different projects go different ways. Sometimes I'll have a homeowner who contacts me and they would like a project done, and we start with the design phase, and then I will suggest some contractors for them to interview and figure out who they want to build their house and who they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then other times I have general contractors, like in your case, who bring me on board to work with you because we have a good relationship. Right. So it just depends.
Yeah.
But always the first step is to realize what the client wants.
Yeah.
And ask a lot of really good questions.
Yeah.
To make sure that we don't waste your time or waste my time, and get the design right from the get-go.
Good. So tell me a little bit about that process, like when you get started and what is that first meeting like?
Yeah. So we ask the clients to come prepared to the meeting, and the great thing about today's digital age is everybody has access to Houzz or Pinterest, or you can look at blueprints online. Everybody watches HGTV. And so I think you're able to get a vision of what you like style-wise. So you come with those visual aids and you present those to me and you say, I really like this look, I really like this style, but I don't like this about it. Can you help me make it my own?
Right.
And I think that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I see a lot of blueprints online, and I just half the time I'm wondering why they stick closets in certain places, or architecturally it doesn't make sense, or it's a waste of space. And so I like to make sure that every square inch of every house has a purpose.
Correct.
And it's going to function the way it's supposed to. And so I ask those questions: what's important to you? I think space planning is the number one priority.
Right.
So some people like big bedrooms, some people like big living rooms, some people want to spend their time outdoors. And so you give me a list of your priorities from top to bottom, and then we allocate the square foot for your budget to fit those needs.
Right. Awesome. So in the space planning, I've been in houses and I've shown lots of houses over the years, and you can really tell with somebody wasn't paying attention to the design. I remember one house that I had, I think I had it listed for a while, and the guy that was trying to sell it was just adamant that it was worth way more because of the kitchen. And the kitchen was huge. It was like 3/4 of the main living area, and then there was this little tiny living room and like a little tiny space for 4 people to sit at a table. And I'm like, it was just horrible. I mean, the kitchen was beautiful. It was huge,
but the scale was off.
The scale was off, and you know, you can just tell when things are not like that. So how do you deal with that as a designer when you're working with somebody? So
I think when you're working with a custom plan, obviously whoever built that house, being in their kitchen was very important to them, and they were going to spend all their time there and maybe not in the dining room and living room. I will try to scale you back to make sure that all those rooms are cohesive size-wise, but if you're just extremely adamant about that, it's your house. You know, I will offer suggestions on changes, but ultimately it's your money and it's your home that you're building. That's what's important to you. I will ask, are you going to sell this in the next few years? So if you're not planning to live somewhere for 20 years and you think you might list it in a few years, I will tell you, well, somebody may not want to buy it for this reason. So you may want to consider these changes. So
considering the resale value on things is very, very important.
Well, as a real estate agent, you know what you see as value and upgrades, not necessarily the buyer does. So just because you spent $100,000 on your kitchen remodel and did some really fancy like water jet tiles for your backsplash, which can cost $150 a square foot instead of a $3 a square foot subway tile, your buyer may not see the value in that extra 10 grand that you spent. So sometimes I'll tell people, well, maybe plan on 80 cents to the dollar on the money that you're spending, because your taste is your taste. And isn't that the joy of society? We all have our own style. So
yeah, it could look beautiful in the end, but somebody else might not be willing to pay for that.
I think there's a maximum dollar per square foot that you can get for something, and I think it's our job as general contractors and designers to reel people in on their spending and realistically tell them where their dollars are going. And if you're not getting that and someone's just saying yes, 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 they may not be the right person for your project. Like, you want to make sure someone's able to talk to you professionally, but make sure that you understand where your dollars are going and realistically where they can come.
That's awesome. I'm just going to check out the time here. Okay, we got a little bit yet. So, talk to me a little bit about the different architecture and, you know, I know we've talked about this, and Emily's drawing up a plan for me right now. And of course, being who I am, I typically pick the most expensive.
It doesn't like expensive too.
But talk to me a little bit about that and architecture, how that plays into the cost of things when people are thinking about building a house.
So there's tons of different building materials out there, and there's tons of different styles available. So usually your most expensive is going to be the modern style houses, because they have those beautiful straight lines, but you waste a lot of square footage when you do that, and you waste a lot of material to get the architectural aspect. So if you're building just a square box, that's really cheap. But every time you're adding angles into a plan, you're adding dollars. And that's where it gets pricey. But modern architecture too, to look right, you can't just put vinyl siding on it. You have to use, you know, wood or composites that look like wood, and those get expensive. But they're also a higher quality material. It may not look right with vinyl windows, so you might have to go to like a fiberglass extruded or a wood window with an aluminum casing on it. Those get expensive. I think a job of a contractor and designer is to let you know what your alternatives are in places where you can save money. So, you know, a full stone facade stone's $50 a square foot, and I can get you vinyl siding for $2 a square foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe we don't do as much stone. Maybe we do a little bit more of another material and mix and match to get you on the budget that you're looking for.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I think that's why you're going to see a lot of craftsman style houses that are all vinyl.
Right.
The roof lines are very simple, and they're not putting like crazy beams and metal and
right.
If it looks cool, it costs money.
That's right. That's right. Well, and you mentioned craftsmen, and even with a craftsman, you can go kind of crazy with the materials that you choose.
Exactly.
We built a craftsman several years ago, and I know when we built it, we built it in a neighborhood, but it was on a lake, and so typically people, the front of the house, they do all the extras. You spend the money. But being on a lake, I'm like, well,
okay, the money on both sides.
I want the backside to look just maybe not as crazy, beautiful as the front, but I want all the trim detail around the windows and the
wood and the pillars.
And all that kind of stuff, so that it is obviously a craftsman when you look at the back of it, and not just a box.
A vinyl box.
A vinyl box.
Yeah.
And so there's that when you.
I feel like lakefront living is a little different though. When you design for a lake, you have more windows because you're paying for the view, and you have a front and back of the house. Right. Your curb appeal is in two places.
Right.
So you're gonna spend the dollars there.
Yeah.
In craftsman, you get, you can do the wood beams, and you can do a lot of custom wood paneling on the walls, and there's just those little architectural details that push it up over the edge. But again, you ask, where's your priorities? And you think about like kitchen design. Right. I can get you a cheap box that we paint, or you can do full like bamboo custom glass and lights, and we have laminate countertops and we have stone countertops.
Right. Right. Well, if you are just joining us, my name is Shelley Frody. I'm from City to Shore Real Estate, and I've got Emily DeYoung with me here. We're talking about architecture and design and all that fun stuff. Just wanted to let you know, again, if you're going to be available May 29 up in the Traverse City area, we're going to be doing a Discovery Day, and would love to have you come and join us for that. So Emily, let's talk a little bit more about, you've got to the point, you've done that first appointment with somebody, you've started to draw things out. What happens after that, like the second part of what happens?
So the second part is we've got our floor plan put together, and in our initial meeting we would have asked how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many square feet, and what's your budget. And then I will try to come back with a couple floor plan options, and then from there in our second meeting we will tweak those and decide which one we like more, and maybe which rooms we want to be bigger or smaller, and start putting our roof lines together. So a house is always built with the load-bearing walls in mind. You can't just like pop a room somewhere and and hope that the roof will fit over the top of it. So walls have to be in certain places to hold all the weight of those roofs, and especially if you're building a second floor, your second floor system has to be supported by your first floor and your foundation. So kind of start at the bottom and work your way up. A lot of times your first floor dictates what your second floor is going to look like, because we can't just shrink rooms. We got to make sure that weight's supported.
Right.
So that's kind of what our second meeting looks like, is you're sort of along. We've picked out a floor plan, and we want to make sure it's going to fit your needs. And you'll say, oh, I really don't like the size of that dining room, or can we make the porch a little bigger, because I have a sofa this size and I want to make sure it fits in that room. So and I say, well, if I move this wall out here, I got to move this wall out too.
Right.
And if we're trying to stay within a certain square feet, we try to see if we can steal some from another space. But if we can't, then you're ending up with a larger house, which means maybe you're spending more money.
Right.
So along the way, we always kind of doing a pulse check and make sure that we're on plan,
Mhm.
on budget, and then if we're spending more than our budget, that you're aware of the decisions that you're making or pushing you over that budget.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. Where do you find that you get where a lot of people get hung up? Is it in this second phase where they have a lot of decisions to make?
Well, everybody has big ideas.
Yeah.
And obviously all the cool pictures that you're going to find online or that you're going to find on TV, they cost money to have a trim carpenter come out and do the fancy trim or to do fancy tile work. And so we have to decide where we want to allocate our dollars, right? So I think that's where people get hung up, is deciding what is their hierarchy of importance. So, some people, like you talked about before, a gourmet kitchen was obviously a priority in that house. That was very expensive, but that means they took the dollars from the other rooms, or they stole square foot from them.
Yeah.
And
I think I would rather see people do instead of stealing from square foot from one room to another, I'd rather see the correct scale.
Right.
And then maybe scale down on the finishes, especially for resale.
Yep.
I think that is very important, that the scale of the rooms and how they relate to each other, they match and they flow. And when they don't, you ever get into a house and you're like, this just doesn't feel right.
Right. Like something's missing, or why did they stick that there?
Right.
That's my constant question, is why did they do that?
Right. Exactly.
I'm like, they could have just,
Yeah.
And sometimes it's worth convincing your client, just spend the extra $10,000. I promise you'll be regretting it later if you don't.
Right.
Like bedrooms, just get the extra foot, because it's not your kitchens and your bathrooms, any place that has plumbing in it, those are your expensive rooms. You're going to get those no matter what. Like a standard kitchen is a standard size. A bathroom is going to be a standard size, because you have to fit your toilets and vanities and showers and things in there. So adding, a foot by a foot into a bedroom, that's really actually not costing you that much more money, because we're not sticking plumbing and tile and really expensive building materials in there.
Drywall is really cheap.
It is cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in comparison to a faucet, right? A faucet can cost you as much as it would cost to drywall one wall of a room.
Exactly.
So, you know, so I just think I think half the time people don't understand their options and really the true cost of something. So they think, oh, well, I'm taking square footage out. Well, your plum spaces are like $400 a square foot. A bedroom with carpet's like $90. Right. So just understanding that. I mean, you need a little more foundation. You need a little bit more siding. But out of the grand scheme of things, that's not where your money's going. So no matter what, you're buying a fridge, you're buying a stove, you're buying a sink, like you're buying that stuff.
Exactly.
That's part of a house.
Exactly.
So
so you get through the second meeting with you, and you do the roof lines, and you start talking about that.
Right.
What is the next thing after that?
Once we get to our third meeting, you pretty well know that that's the house that you want.
Right.
And at that point, before we go into phase 3, we're going to get your blueprint out to our top suppliers and figure out what it's going to cost you, for your big items like concrete, your roofing structure, and, all the lumber that you're going to have to buy, your siding, your windows, get an average cost for your kitchen.
Right.
At some point in our conversation, I'm going to ask you what kind of kitchen you want, what kind of stone do you want. When I do my blueprints, I don't do a full kitchen design. We just sort of price per square footed. That's a completely different. I can spend as much time on a kitchen as I spend on a full blueprint, because it's important that it functions and it's not just a bunch of cabinets thrown in with a countertop. Like, I hate it when they do that, right? I mean, kitchens need to make sense, and you need to visualize yourself there. And I'm not saying that men can't do it, but
let's talk about kitchens a little bit.
Exactly. I just, just don't throw stuff in there. I have a kitchen like that,
right.
And I live in a big development that just got thrown up, right?
Yeah.
And they're just building them to make money.
Right.
I hate my kitchen.
Yeah.
Because nothing makes any sense.
Right.
The drawers aren't where they should be. Half of them don't have like the innards of the cabinets to make my life easier.
Right.
So
the bare minimum is they made sure there was a triangle between the refrigerator, the sink, and the stove.
We have accomplished that.
Yeah. Yep.
And it has running water in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
So, but there's no counter space.
Right.
Like, I have counter space, but I don't have counter space where I can work. Right?
Yeah.
Where I can cut things up and prep them to get ready to put on my stove. And then they decided to stick my microwave right in my face. I can't use that counter space now because I can't chop my face up against the cabinet.
Right.
So, so when you do kitchen design, it's important to ask, how do you want to use this?
Yeah.
Where do you want to put things?
Right.
When you're working, where do you see yourself standing in your kitchen? So you have to ask all these important questions before you even start putting it together.
Yeah.
Like I had put your sink in front of the window. Most people want to look out, but you want it in your island.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own view of what that should look like. But now you have that nice long countertop to do all your prep work.
Right.
So
with no upper cabinet.
Exactly.
And big windows there that I can
look out while you're working.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be beautiful, but you just ask those questions, and when you do that, it'll be a space that you enjoy working in instead of going, why didn't somebody put some things somewhere?
Exactly. Yeah. So so we get to the third part. We pretty much know. Now we're sending everything out to the
numbers.
Yes.
Once we get those numbers in, then we see, okay, what do we need to do to maybe tweak this design a little bit to get us closer to where our budget needs to be.
Right.
Do we take out a few windows? Did you have a whole wall of them and maybe we need to take a few out?
Right.
Because glass is expensive.
Yep. Maybe scale back on some of the finishes.
Exactly.
So
maybe we don't do crown molding everywhere. Maybe we don't do that accent wall. Maybe your guest bedroom, you just put a fiberglass shower instead of a full tile shower. And then we start to steal our dollars and kind of scale back a little bit. Maybe we don't do as much stone on the front. Maybe we change the pitch of a roof. Maybe you don't have vaulted ceilings in some room. So that's where we start to nail down exactly. And then once we get closer to that, then I put it into full construction documents with all the dimensions and all the rooms and all the pictures, and then
we're off.
Then you're ready to build a house.
That's the fun part.
Exactly.
That's the fun part. Yeah.
So and then you get into your kitchen and your exact bath designs, and I typically just space plan those out so at least they know where your plumbing and things are going to go. It doesn't mean that we've chosen your vanities or we've chosen your tile. That's the next phases, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you can either do full blueprints with me where I just draw you the house and then you work with the builder to make selections and pick out what you want, and you kind of know this is the size that I have to work with, or I will work with you and we'll go through each room and pick out every single tile and the paint colors and countertops and faucets to make sure it all matches. So there's a lot of different phases to design and house building, and I do 3D design, which is nice.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's just like watching HGTV with the Property Brothers or whatever, and they, zoom through the house. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nice. So you can visualize what you're going to get at the end of your project, and you want to know, pretty well, this is what I'm going to get, and you can see yourself in the space, and you want to pull materials, and I make boards so that you can see what your floor and your paint, if you're doing wallpaper, fabric, and countertops and cabinets, and get all your colors together.
Right.
And then that helps you get a color palette together.
That's cool.
So,
Fun stuff.
yeah.
Very
It's really fun.
stuff.
It's not even like working.
It's like you're playing all the time.
I do. I get to play house.
Yeah. My I was showing my daughter the other day. Actually, just yesterday, she says, "Let me see the stuff that you sent me." She's like, "This looks just like Sims." She likes to use the Sims thing and build the houses in the Sims thing. That's pretty funny. I'm like, well, it's a little more complicated.
That's right. Oh, there's a little engineering behind the scenes, but yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
So you stick the furniture in and make sure you can walk around it. And,
right.
You know, how much room do you have when your chairs are pulled out?
Exactly.
So just little stuff
Yep.
can make someone's life more functional.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and
Absolutely.
I think architecture is about beauty, but it's also about how the space will be working.
Yeah, and how you feel when you're in that space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I just painted my living room. I had it orange, and then I just painted it a nice gray color, and my blood pressure went down. like the room is now soothing to me. So just a simple change of paint color, and my husband wanted the orange wall, and I didn't. But I was like, okay.
Yeah.
That's not going back. So, but little things can change your life, and little decisions, and paint's an easy one to make a difference.
Absolutely. So how can people get a hold of you, Emily?
You can check out my Facebook page at Spaces by DeYoung, and I have a lot of my portfolio on there. You can email me at spacesbydeyoung@gmail.com. I won't give out my phone number.
No, we won't.
I'm terrible at answering it.
Yeah. Email is probably
the best way to get a hold of me, and I'm on it all the time. It just pops up, and then you kind of know what people want and the questions that they have. But you know, then I'll call you. We can chit chat about it.
Right.
And,
you know. Awesome. And so when I post this video, I will put
my Facebook link on.
Yeah. So you'll be able to get a hold of Emily that way. So
you can see some of my past projects. I'm actually pretty bad at updating it because I'm so busy developing new things. But when I get a chance, I try to post some of the projects that I've been working on and some of the cooler ones that I've done.
Nice. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I
Thanks for
appreciate
coming. Yeah, this has been great. So,
get up north and go see Shelly.
Yeah.
Because Great Wolf Lodge is fun.
We'll see you later, everyone.